blame on Stephen Davis that Sailor-Mate has outwitted him on this occasion. He's been in absolutely nailing form this year, Jim, this horse, and I think they'd like a few more with a few more tricks like him, because it doesn't stop him winning races. He's run up quite a sequence, or sorry, had a couple of good wins, and the other day ran the Portland, and not everything went his way, I don't think.
No. He's not doing himself any harm, provided he goes no faster than that, just hacking down. So while they get that sorted out, the others are just finishing the preliminaries. Hard to figure what a grand horse he is. Looks wonderfully well, in keeping with several of them. Steve Brown taking the mount. And Alice, you see this is quite possible, don't you?
I don't think it's beyond the bounds. He's won it, knew that the ground might have been lively enough for him there, and that's, I think, his only win over 6. So clearly they've put him away since then, and hoping for the better ground in the autumn. This ground will bestow no great favours on any particular type of horse. There's Astrak picked out on his quarters. Somebody's been hard at work. And you would think, Jim, this must have a very, very sound chance. There's nobody more shrewd at plotting these handicaps up than Reg Akehurst.
So, whilst agreeing with Alistair's sentiments, I mean, you could pick out dangers all the time to whatever one you've plumped for. Here's No Extras. We'd be silly to overlook his claims too. Simon Whitworth riding for Gary Moore, powered through to win at Goodwood in July, and then, in point of fact, ran well in the Stewards Cup in July. Same course, powered through to win in August, and then later the same month, another good run behind Iktamal.
French Grit's been nibbled at in the market, 25s and 33s. Michael Dodds knows a bit about these sprinters. Tony McGlone the ride. This is a horse, I think, who may well have more to come. Ran very well behind Periston View in a hot Newmarket sprint earlier in the year, when didn't really coming from too far off the pace, and ran a very nice race the other day over 7 behind Knobbly Knees at Doncaster. Interesting if there's activity for French Grit in the market. Let's see, Mac, how does French Grit travelling? More money?
Yeah, there's a bit of money for French Grit. Alice, a double carpet, 33 to 1 in.
Joey. Forties then Name the Tune and Paris Babe. And the outsiders 50 to 1, Mr. Jolson, Fire Dome, Ashgore Amron and Palace Gate Touch.
And Office Power is the side of the day. Hills, the off.
No Extras walking forward. Hard to figure nearest to us. Lord Olivier and Benzoe, the last two to load. They're drawn next to each other. Benzoe in. And they raced away, and Bold Effort, who's normally a smart starter, misses the break. It's a Silver Sox is in behind horses, and they are split into the two groups. Palace Gate Touches racing on the stand side. Royal Figurine Pato coming out of the left-hand group. Hard to Figure is right down the stands rail. Branston Abbey is just off the pace on the centre to stand side. On the far side, we have Love You Millions and Venture Capitalist, and also on the far side, racing prominently is Alziana. And on the far side, Amron and Daring Destiny. They come down towards the halfway stage. Branston Abbey is just off the pace at this stage. Master of Passion holds sway from Fire Dome. It's Master of Passion who runs the stand rail and Fire Dome. Then in behind them, Benzo. French Grit starts a run. Royal Figurine the stand side. Master of Passion has it though as they come inside the final quarter mile. On the far side, Venture Capitalist and Cool Jazz are running alone, and we have a faller down the track. That was Shikari's son, a furlong to go. And Master Passion in the lead from Royal Figurine, the pink cap. Here comes Pato, the black cap, No Extras. But on the far side, it's Cool Jazz who's clear of that group, but it's going to be a close run this. At the line, it's going to be a photo. At the line, Royal Figurine, No Extras, Pato the 1, 2, 3. Then Master of Passion and Cool Jazz the far side. And the field trail back to Daring Destiny, who won the race last year, last this. And so the result then of this, the Air Gold Cup, a desperately close call. Number 11, Royal Figurine.
Be successful in Ireland on Danehill Dancer, 9 to 4 Moonax. Number 2 is Strategic Choice for the Paul Cole stable, ridden by Richard Quinn at 6 to 1 Strategic Choice. Number 3, Vintage Crop, bidding for an unprecedented hat-trick in this Irish St Leger under Mick Cannan, the 1993 Melbourne Cup winner, and could be heading to Australia again in November. The even money favourite. Number 4 then, Zilzal Zaman at 9 to 1 Walter Swinburne, Michael Stout trains. Number 5, Double On at 40-1, Michael Duffy, the rider. Number 6 is Johansson at 33-1 under Johnny Murtagh. And then number 7, Oscar Schindler at 10-1, the mount of Willie Sundell. Now a reminder of the...
To win the Irish St. Leger for a record 3rd time. We wish him all the best. He's a hot favourite. Let's go live and join Tony O'Hare.
Vintage Crop goes in nice and quietly already for the big one of the day, and they're off. And in the early stages, it's Strategic Choice on the outside who goes on. Strategic Choice, the leader, with Zilzal's a man moving up in the centre. Vintage Crop is on the inside as they race through the first furlong. And it's Zilzal's a man who moves on now by 3/4 of a length to Vintage Crop on the inside, half a length away, 3rd Strategic Choice. Just behind them, Moonax in a break of 2 lengths to Oscar Schindler, 3/4 of a length, Double On, and a length and a half to Johansson as they complete the first quarter mile. And it's Zilzal's a man striding along a length and a half in front of the favourite Vintage Crop, with Strategic Choice, Richard Quinn in 3rd. Another length back to Moonax, followed by Oscar Schindler. And behind Oscar Schindler on the inside, the filly Double On, with the Johansson bringing up the rear. Going down the far side of the course now towards the 1.25 mile start, and Zilzal's a man increases the lead to 2.5 to 3 lengths. In second place is Vintage Crop, a length and a half away, Strategic Choice. 2 lengths back to Moonax and Pat Eddery in 4th, and then Oscar Schindler, the Irish Derby, 4th, being followed by Double On, and behind Double On, Johansson brings up the rear as they run on now towards the mile pole in the Irish St. Leger. Zilzal's a man, Walter Swinburne, by 2 lengths to Vintage Crop, a length and a half away, Strategic Choice. Another length and a half, Moonax, same distance to Double On, who's edged past Oscar Schindler, and 2 lengths last of the 7 is Johansson as they race now towards the 7th pole, the halfway stage, and Zilzal the man, the leader, tracked all the way by Vintage Crop. Moonax moves up 3rd on the outside, Strategic Choice a length back 4th. Oscar Schindler is next on the outside of Double On, and 3 lengths in rear Johansson as they start the climb up the hill towards the 3/4 mile pole, and it's Zilzal's the man in the lead from Vintage Crop, closing in 2nd. Moonax right on his heels in 3rd. Strategic Choice 4, then Oscar Schindler. They're followed by Double On, and still the back marker Johansson, about 7 lengths covering the entire field as they race along the top of the course towards the 5 furlong marker. Zilzal's a man, Vintage Crop within half a length away, Moonax and Pat Eddery. Strategic Choice beginning to improve again on the inside. Oscar Schindler's 2 lengths back in front of Double On. Johansson brings up the rear as they begin the downhill run towards the straight. Zilzal's a man, the narrow leader from Vintage Crop. Moonax is closing on the outside. Strategic Choice just behind them in 4, Oscar Schindler 5. They're on the bend with just over 3 furlongs to race, and Vintage Crop goes up to take on Zilzal's a man. Moonax is 3/4 of a length off the favourite. Into the straight now, 2.5 to go. Zilzal's a man, Vintage Crop, Moonax the outside. Strategic Choice going well just in behind them. They race now past the 2 furlong marker, and Vintage Crop being tackled by Moonax. Oscar Schindler on the outside, then Strategic Choice. They're inside the 2. Moonax strikes the front. Oscar Schindler the near side, then Strategic Choice. There's going to be no hat-trick for Vintage Crop unless he finds a lot. They're inside the final furlong, and Moonax leads. Strategic Choice the far side, then Oscar Schindler. Vintage Crop beaten, but it's Strategic Choice on the far side of Moonax, neck and neck as they race up the line. Strategic Choice edging ahead as they got the line. Strategic Choice wins the Irish Leger. Moonax is 2nd, Oscar Schindler is 3rd. Vintage Crop's well beaten in 4th, and then came Double On, Johansson and Zilzal's the man. So Strategic Choice has won Paul Cole, his 2nd Irish St. Leger, a 2nd win in the race too for Richard Quinn, the trainer and the jockey partnership, having won the race 5 years ago with Ibn Bay. He's left that disappointing run in Germany last time well behind him, and he's now a 12-1 chance for the Melbourne Cup with Ladbrokes, 14-1 Moonax, 20-1 Vintage Crop, as Strategic Choice and Richard Quinn get the better of that rousing battle with Moonax. Vintage Crop fading to finish 4th. 16-1 with Corals, the winner for the Melbourne Cup.
But a big, powerful horse, Strategic Choice, and he's galloping over the opposition as they turn into the straight here. Zilzal, the man, is in front. Walter Swinburne, Mick Canaan moving up on his quarters there with Vintage Crop. Pat Eddery in the blue here on Moonax, and directly behind him with his white face is the winner, Strategic Choice. He gets a nice split between Zilzal, the man, and Vintage Crop when it comes, and he goes there well. But in the last furlong or so, Richard Quinn has to rouse him up to hold Moonax. He comes there on a tight rein. Everybody else around is foot to the floor, and nothing in the tank whatsoever. They're all going for broke when Richard Quinn slips through there on Strategic Choice. But now once he gets there, he has to get a bit serious with him, picks it out and gives him a smack as Pat Edry lays down his challenge with Moonax here. Oscar Schindler running a cracker here back in third on the right of your picture. But now Strategic Choice has to be called on by Richard Quinn to dig into that locker and see what's there. And he finds a bit extra as Richard just pushes him out hands and heels, waves the stick at him as he looked like drifting towards Pat a bit. But Moonax sticks to his task well, makes him go all the way to the line. And at the death, a Strategic Choice who holds him by about a head. Moonax running a cracker in second place and Oscar Schindler running out of his skin back in third. Vintage Crop.
He was improving the 6 on the home turn. Steinland's just in front of him. Mark of distinction isn't that far away. And as they start the turn in, and it's all Greek to me as the grey horse on the outside of Expensive Decision. Now they're coming down the stretch. A mark of distinction is opening up. And here comes Royal Academy with a great burst on the outside in the white cap, but they're inside the final furlong. And Leicester's making great strides on Royal Academy in the green jacket on the wide outside. And he's going for everything. He knows where to put his line in. He's driving into the post. It's a photo, but Leicester wins it! Would you absolutely credit it? Royal Academy has won the Breeders' Cup Mile, ridden by Leicester Bigger, who brought this horse with a determined drive down the outside and has landed the Breeders' Cup Mile in the most sensational style. I just don't believe it.
Leicester. Headed by number 1, the Barricade, the mother of the French champion Thierry Janet, drawn 7, of no significance on the inside. But number 2, on the outside I should say. Number 2 is Lord of Men, one of the 2 British challengers, ridden by Frankie Dettori. 3, Restless Carl, ridden by Dominic Boeuf, like Barricade, trained by André Fabre. 4 was Titus Livius, the mount of Cash Asmussen. Number 5 was Star Finch, the rank outsider, ridden by the jumping jockey Raymond O'Brien, and he delayed the start by about 5 minutes, by the way. Number 6 was Woodborough, perhaps the best English challenger, perhaps not, ridden by John Reed. And number 7, the one filly in the race, With Fascination, ridden by Olivier Pellier. And the betting? Well, as so often happens in France, it was the André Fabre stable that threw out the favourite. Barricade was favoured at 2.1 to 1. Woodborough, the British challenger, second best at 5 to 2 against. Then Titus Livius, surprisingly, was the preferred of the Jonathan Pease runners at 3.5 to 1. With Fascination, his other runner, 3.6 to 1. Lord of Men, trained by John Gosden, 5.1 to 1. Then it was Restless Carl, 15.6 to 1. And the rank outsider, Star Finch, at 56 to 1. And here's what happened. Just the 2 André Fabre runners to be installed, Restless Carl, and last of all, Barricade, the mount of Thierry Janet, the more fancied of the 2, and racing in the Khaled Abdallah colours. They're going very, very soft at Longchamp for this Prix de la Salamandre. Barricade showing a little reluctance. This colt who was third in the Prix Marny, and he's in. And they're running. Restless Carl swerves a little bit at the start, and Barricade on the outside a little slowly away. Woodborough jumps fast out of the stalls, runs a little bit free in the first furlong. He's joined in the lead by With Fascination, and after a furlong it's With Fascination and Olivier Pellier who take it up. From Lord of Men, Frankie Dettori in second. Restless Carl towards the outside. Woodborough now settled in fourth place, John Reed, then Barricade, then Titus Livius tucked in behind the leaders. Last of the 7 is Star Finch. With Fascination makes it from Frankie Dettori, perfectly placed on Lord of Men. Woodborough on the inside. Restless Carl towards the outside with Barricade. Then Titus Livius and Star Finch already starting to struggle. Racing round towards the straight, it's With Fascination, pressed all the while by Lord of Men. With Fascination, Lord of Men towards the outside, Restless Carl. John Reed has a good position on Woodborough. Titus Livius still travelling well in 5th place, then Barricade. 2 furlongs to run. It's With Fascination, pressed now by Lord of Men towards the outside. Restless Carl comes under pressure. Woodborough looking for room. A furlong to run. Here comes Lord of Men on the outside of With Fascination. Lord of Men and With Fascination. Woodborough moves into 3rd place. With Fascination pressed by Lord of Men. 100 yards to run. It's Lord of Men and Frankie Dettori getting up past the first winning post. It's Frankie Dettori on Lord of Men. Lord of Men wins it at the line. With Fascination second. Woodborough is third. And Lord of Men, the winner, paying 7 francs for a win. That's 6 to 1, and 3 francs for a place. Second, number 7, With Fascination, 2.3 to 1 for a place, and of course only 7 ran. Well, that was the... Number 2 is Rifapour, the possible hope for the Aga Khan for the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, ridden by Gérard Mosset, but he doesn't very much like soft ground. 3 was Tamiret, the mount of Frankie Dettori, in the Sheikh Mohammed colours. Number 4, Parfait Glacé, ridden by Freddy Sanchez, and number 5, Philanthrope, the mount of Cash Asmussen. And the betting, predictably, Tamiret was odds-on favourite, 10 to 6 on. Then Rifapour was next best in the betting, 3.3 to 1. Philanthrope, 4.3 to 1. Spectrum was a 4.6 to 1 chance, and the outsider Parfait Glacé, 11.7 to 1. Well, the big question was, what would make the running? They're all in. And they're running for the Prix du Prince d'Orange. Spectrum a little bit slowly away, and no early pace at all, as we suspected. There's no gallop. Rifapour on the left in front, but through no wish of his own towards the outside. Tamiret settling nicely for Frankie Dettori. The one that isn't settling is Parfait Glacé, throwing his head around, and Spectrum just travelling nicely on the inside. But after a couple of furlongs at this funereal pace, it's Tamiret who's pulled his way into the lead from Rifapour. In third place on the outside, Philanthrope, then Spectrum, and now Parfait Glacé has settled. But this is really just a walking pace. They're going no better than a hack canter. This is no sort of trial at all. Tamiret leading from Rifapour. Tamiret, Frankie Dettori, pressed by Rifapour and Philanthrope on the outside. Spectrum, who's settled nicely in fourth, then Parfait Glacé, as they race round the bottom turn of the course, past the Porte de Boulogne. Still this funereal gallop. Tamiret from Rifapour, on the outside Philanthrope, then Spectrum. Last of the 5 is Parfait Glacé. Frankie Dettori not really quickening the pace as they race round towards the straight, and this is just going to be a 3-furlong sprint now, and Tamiret has the lead. Tamiret from Rifapour, Philanthrope, Spectrum, and Parfait Glacé. Now they race and straighten up as Tamiret leads round the false turn. Tamiret in second place on the outside, Philanthrope on the inner, Rifapour, then Spectrum, and then Parfait Glacé, and still there's no gallop. And when is Frankie going to push the button? It's going to be very soon now. He's got to go because there are just 2.5 furlongs to run as they hit the main straight. It's Tamiret, pressed on the outside by Rifapour, Spectrum travelling well on the inside, Philanthrope on the outside, and Parfait Glacé inside the 2-furlong marker. And now the race is on. Is Tamiret pressed by Spectrum on the inside, on the outside Rifapour. Tamiret and Spectrum, these two drawing clear now. Spectrum on the inside, Tamiret just holding on the outside. Rifapour's back in third, inside the final furlong now. It's Tamiret holding on from Spectrum. Tamiret and Spectrum. Tamiret wins it to the line, Spectrum second, Rifapour is third. And Tamiret confirmed the winner, no prices yet. Narrowly from Spectrum, Rifapour.
Won the September Stakes at Kempton, Julian. I'm just wondering whether a sharp track doesn't suit him better. A lot of his good form has been on sharpest tracks. He's 7 to 1 from 8 to 1. Little bit of money for Barouge.
He's a particularly good-looking horse, an entire horse, and so is this one, Wayne County. This one's by Sadler's Wells out of Detroit, the Arc winner. He finished third in that race at Goodwood to Triarius, in which Richard of York finished fourth, and he's been showing really good form since Reg Akers took over his training.
Sometimes gets a little bit warm in the preliminaries, as you can see there, just sweating up on his neck there. They rode him a little bit different this season. They made quite a lot of the running in some of his races. He's 10 to 1 from 9s. I'm just wondering how Jason Weaver's going to ride him today. I think he's better off in front.
This is another Sadler's Wells horse, Fire on Ice, by Sadler's Wells out of Foolish Lady. Wonderful breeding, only run 3 times, progressive horse, finished third to Posidonus last time, and Posidonus went on to win the Gran Premio d'Italia. 25 to 1, Fire on Ice. But Riadian remains favourite, hardening to 2 to 1. 5 to 1 Medaille Militaire, 11 to 2 Richard of York, and Prince of Andros, 7 to 1 bar those 4. The back of those two is Silver Wedge, wearing the visor. Course winner, he won the Queen's Vase here last year when he was trained by Jeff Lewis. Since then he's been jumping with David Nicholson. He's now trained by Lord Huntingdon. If he goes jumping again, he'll go to Oliver Sherwood. It's extraordinary how nowadays people racing stables seem to be rather like airport hotels. People just check in and out.
Quite right, Julian. He's another front runner. I think we'll see him going along. So we should be assured of a good gallop. Why don't we go to Peter?
And just Barouge to go, and he's just being a little bit uncooperative at the moment, having a hood put on. Willie Carson giving the handlers every assistance, but that's a little more than Barouge is doing at the moment. He's mentioned that he's a very lively customer, this one, and he's certainly on his toes this afternoon. Being led up now, blindfolded, to stall number 7. 8 runners in the absence of commoner, and that's it. Or it will be with another half-inch, 2-to-1 Riadian, and that's it. They're under orders, and they're running in the first of the Ascot Festival races, and settling down to quite a decent gallop in the early stages, with Silver Wedge going on from Wayne County and Fire and Ice on the inside, and then comes Riadian and Prince of Andros, and then Barouge and Marche Militaire, and finally Medai Militaire, and finally Richard of York. Richard of York blinkered for the first time, and now going up quite swiftly to almost join the leaders, but still Silver Wedge from Wayne County and Fire and Ice and Riadian. Then towards the outside is Richard of York. Prince of Andros, the winner a couple of years ago, comes next. Then Medai Militaire has taken quite a strong hold, and then Barouge is now the back marker. Got a mile to run now in this Cumberland Lodge, and it's still Silver Wedge taking him along from Jason Weaver on Wayne County, and then Fire and Ice, and then Riadian. Then towards the outside, Richard of York nicking ground all the time, Prince of Andros, and then Medai Militaire, and finally Barouge. Silver Wedge by about half a length from Wayne County, then Fire and Ice and Riadian as they race past the 6 marker. Silver Wedge the leader. From Wayne County on the far side, Fire and Ice comes next, then the white face of Riadian, and Richard of York just getting into the picture over on the far side. But still Silver Wedge as they race towards the half-mile mark in the Cumberland Lodge Stakes. From Wayne County and Riadian travelling well. On the outside, Richard of York, Fire and Ice being chased along. Then come Barouge, Prince of Andros, and Medai Militaire. They're beginning the swing into the straight now, and as they do so, it's Wayne County who takes it up from Silver Wedge, being chased by Riadian, and then comes Richard of York. Medai Militaire is making a little bit of ground now towards the outside, and then comes Fire and Ice and Barouge making ground, and Prince of Andros has dropped right out of it, and now it's Wayne County being pressed by Riadian, travelling well. Then on the outside, Richard of York, and then comes Medai Militaire, but Riadian has struck the front under Richard Quinn from Richard of York, and they're racing into the closing stages, and it's Riadian striding away now from Richard of York. It's going to be close for third, but no doubt about the winner of the Open of the Cumberland Lodge Stakes. It's Riadian in great style. Riadian is the winner from Richard of York in second, and third is Barouge. 4 Wayne County, 5 Medai Militaire, and 6 came the early leader Silver Wedge, and behind them Fire and Ice, and almost pulled up in last place was Prince of Andros. And so the result: first number 9, Riadian, owned for Jack Jennings, John Reed. 5 Mawal, Willie Carson. 6 Mons, Frankie Dettori. 7 More Royal, Walter Swinburne, and 8 Oblomov, ridden by Paul Edery, and here's how they bet.
And Mawal is favourite as expected at 2-to-1. Then they go 5-2 Bijou Dand, 4-to-1 Mons, 5-to-1 More Royal, just drifting out from 4-to-1, 8 Hammerstein, 33-to-1 at Carney, 50 Jack Jennings, and 50-to-1 Oblomov.
Is that it? It's more than half, anyway. John Reed still needing a little help from behind. And that's it. They're all in.
Jockeys!
And they're away. Hammerstein from over on the far side. Bijou Dand up there with the early pace, and also Mons and Oblomov and Mons disputing the lead. Mons on the inside of Oblomov, and then comes More Royal. Just in behind them, a Charnay. Over on the far side is Bijou Dand. Hammerstein is the back marker, and it's on the inside Mons, on the far side Oblomov. Just in behind them, More Royal. Bijou Dand over on the far side, of the near side Jack Jennings, and then comes Mawal, and behind Mawal is Acharné, and last is Hammerstein, and now Mons has taken it up. Mons has taken it up under Frankie Dettori towards the left. Still travelling smoothly towards the outside is Bijou Dand. Between horses, Oblomov. Hammerstein right over on the far right. Mawal will be looking for room soon, tucked in behind the leaders as they swing now towards the home turn. It's Mons from Bijou Dand. More Royal between horses. Back in fourth place is Mawal and making progress. Jack Jennings on the inside, and on the right of the picture as we see them, Hammerstein, but it's Mons, the leader. From in the centre, the sheepskin noseband, More Royal towards the outside. Under pressure now is Bijou Dand, and Mawal getting absolutely nowhere as Hammerstein makes a little bit of progress from the rear, but it's Mons, the leader, as they hit the furlong pole, and Mons has gone a couple of lengths clear, or 3 lengths clear. Then comes More Royal and Jack Jennings, then Bijou Dand and Hammerstein. Mawal trailing, and as they race up towards the line, and Mons is going to win this very impressively indeed. Mons wins it by 5, 6, 7 maybe, 6 lengths at least. Then More Royal in second, and third Jack Jennings, Hammerstein next, and then Bijou Dand and Acharné and Mawal, and last was Oblomov. And so the result of the Royal Lodge Stakes: first, number 6, Mons, owned by Mrs. E.H. Vesti, trained by Luca Cumani and ridden by Frankie Dettori. Second was number 7, More Royal, owned by Mr. George Strawbridge, trained by Ian Balding and ridden by Walter Swinburne. And third was number 4, Jack Jennings, owned by Mr. G. Whitaker, trained by Brian McMahon and ridden by John Reed, with fourth, number 3,
Walk and an Arteus mare. Rank outsider today, the Mount of Brett Doyle. Soviet Line, trained by Michael Stout of Maktoum Al Maktoum, a horse who earned his Group 1 status when he won the Lockinge Stakes at Newbury in May. 9-1. Number 3, Bari, the 2,000 guineas third, the most consistent of horses, looks outstanding today, and ridden by Willie Carson, who has such a brilliant record round this old mile. Number 4, Bishop of Cashel, this powerful looking son of Warning and Ballet Classique by Sadler's Wells, represents James Fanshawe, one of the burgeoning young trainers who's turned him out looking in terrific shape today. Number 5, the pacemaker, Muhab, wearing the second colours of Sheikh Hamdan Al Maktoum. Who can say what will happen in a big race at Ascot? Remember, Maroof won in these colours last year at 66-1, but this horse is here to make the run. And the favourite, beaten only once in her life, Ridgewood Pearl, winner of the Irish 1,000 guineas, winner of the Coronation Stakes here at Ascot, the Prix de Moulins, 3 times a Group 1 winner. Can she make it 4 Group 1 successes today? John Murtagh, the jockey, riding at his minimum weight of 8 stone 8. John had terrible problems with his weight a couple of seasons ago.
He'll have worked hard on that weight, Julian.
Makes it. Muhab making it from over on the far side, Bari, and Bari going to the outside, which is very unusual this. Bari going to the quite to the wide outside, isolated, all on his own there. Bari and his pacemaker, Muhab, on the inside as they pass the 6 furlong pole. Martini and Ridgewood Pearl comes next.